in the third film concerning the possible gain connected with dealing with philosophical thinking, will have a form of a confession. As you remember from our previous class, confession is one of the possible methods of philosophizing. Is something different than writing a letter or writing a treatise or even deliver a lecture to the students or to the broader audience. Making confession or writing confession or speaking about your own life experience is a philosophical type uh, of reflecting upon your life, upon the reality around you, but also upon the current problems which are so waking so hot debate. And I would say that, sorry for being so close to what is going on around us on our streets of our city. Warsaw is in the center of the debate, not only in Poland but worldwide. I even read a very detailed and long article in the New York Times in World Press, where what is going on around us is really in the center of attention. What is going on in Poland? What Poles and Polish women are doing? Why they are using certain words, etc., etc. So for me, is the philosophical challenge. I use my previous education, my philosophical competence, and I try to understand what happened. Why, since October 22nd till when I prepared this class, is the end of October, so almost 10 days. What is going on around us? Why so different opinions I can hear around me about this constitutional court decision concerning abortion, etc., etc. I would say without philosophical preparation, without this philosophical temperament, I will be more on, well, I'm on the one side. I think that I'm in my own judgment of what is going on. I am against this verdict, and I think it was unnecessary, etc., etc. So my opinion is clearly with those who are protesting, with those who are against mixing politics with law, etc., etc., mixing, confusing religion with legal regulation, etc. But this is my own opinion are not relevant in this moment. What is relevant for our class, and I hope also for your questions, comments in chat room, which I will take with gratitude, is that I can understand as Arlie Russell child, Hochschild, with listening to others with understanding what is behind. And I think one of the philosophical problem, which was never confronted with the needed seriousness, was the definition of the beginning of human life. When we, as a human being, in which moment we became human being. So we can use, or you can use, I invite you to use your ability to reflect, your common sense. And in my case, I remember my philosophical studies, and I remember what Aristotle said about the beginning of human life, what the great commentator of Middle Age, Thomas Aquinas, said about Aristotle. And I remember that for them was not clear when a human being really became human being. According to Aristotle, with very limited knowledge of mm, biology, genetics, it was, as you know, is a very recent discoveries that we know DNA, that we know, the mechanism of development of human being, of embryo, etc., etc. So instead of having this kind of discussion, just to remind you, perhaps you heard it, but if not, just recalling that according to Aristotle, after the inception of life in woman womb, after 40 days, this potential human being become something which we can call human in case of a man, of a masculine embryo. In case of feminine or potential woman, is the nature need 90 days. Of course, we can discuss is naive or too simple, but nevertheless, Aristotle was trying to understand what is going on when we can speak about um, reasoning, about feelings, about the shape of human being. And Thomas Aquinas, as you know, is a great Christian philosopher who took the intuition ideas of ancient philosophy of Aristotle, was actually saying that yes, he was right. The first weeks, uh, what we have to deal with is well, he wrote, of course, in Latin, is the anima vegetativa, etc., etc. So this is not yet human being. So why we are not discussing that all those who defend that from the first moment when life begins is already a human being, and if you are performing abortion, you are killing a child. So the question of language, what philosophy made me sensitive to is the language of the debate, the necessity to define exactly notions which you are using, that you cannot be in the democratic pluralistic country as modern Europe, United States, you cannot just use a very fundamentalistic language in order to dismiss arguments of those who are pro-choice, who are accepting abortion as a normal human decision because of some medical reasons or social reasons, etc. So I'm saying you how a certain amount of knowledge of our philosophical tradition are helping me personally to have a different approach to what is going on around us. I see that one side who is protesting, who is expressing their very deep feelings of being offended, etc. But I think what we need more is the rational argumentation behind. It's not enough to say, I'm sorry, I'm quoting, fuck off, go out, but perhaps we need in when we are in class and we are discussing philosophically problems, we can be more articulated, we can be more decisive, more nuanced in presenting our position. And the same, as you see, religion is coming again and again as a part of philosophical reasoning. I think that why the people who are religious so determined to reject those who have different opinions. Why they don't accept pluralistic reality. They are people who don't share your convictions. You are Christian, you are convinced that my doctrine is the true one, is the absolutely true, etc., etc. Okay, you can have these strong convictions. I respect people who have those convictions, but why you exclude, you dismiss those who don't share your opinions? So, philosophical temperament, in other words, or philosophical uh, heritage are helping us to have a certain distance to a very violent discussion around us. And this is what I appreciate very much in the philosophy. And of course, if you will be interested and you will be interested to know different position toward abortion, for example, in Judaism, in Islam, in other religions, we can see that really this Catholic position is one of many and not necessarily the most representative, because even in Catholicism, we have a variety of opinions. So, in other words, I think that the lack of philosophical training, the lack of philosophical preparation, depriving us of this culture of discussing, even I would say stronger, of this pleasure of discussing, because it's nothing wrong that people have different opinions because they read different books, because they went through different process of socialization in different cultures, different families, etc., etc. But instead of fighting against one another, let us treat this variety of opinions as the opportunity to deepen our own position, our own arguments. So, in this sense, and I will conclude, and it was my small confession, perhaps not so personal, but more connected with how I, as a citizen of this country, how I deal with problems which are so vividly and violently discussed. And although I'm sure of my own position, but I don't exclude nobody who would like to convince me that perhaps I am wrong. But I will prefer to hear more arguments and not hate speech or this language which exclude those who don't share um, the opinions. So, in other words, I would say lack of philosophical preparation is a very damaging factor for our public life. And see you in our chat. Hopefully, I will have a lot of questions and I will be able to answer them. Thank you.